Good evening and welcome to the very first broadcast of Sunset News. In this half-hour program, we'll be looking at the news, the softer side of life in our community news segment, economic news, weather, international news, and sport. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the first edition of Sunset News. Let's start off by having a look at the latest news stories. Windhoek Mayor Shade Kawanas today signed an agreement with her counterpart from the Bremen in Germany, Dr. Andreas Bovenscholt, in a virtual ceremony for the implementation of a European Union-funded project to improve solid waste management in Windhoek. The European Union, through the Directorate General for International Cooperation and Development, will be funding the 4-year project to the tune of 36.8 million Namibian dollars. The population of Windhoek has been growing rapidly over the last decade as a result of urbanization and pursuit of jobs. However, many new residents ended up living in informal settlements without adequate water supply and sanitation facilities, which puts them at risk of diseases. Now, the Land Reform Ministry last year acquired 10 farms at a cost of 88.6 million Namibian dollars under its resettlement program. This was said by Land Reform Minister Karl Schlatwein at his annual meeting with the ministry staff this week. He said the ministry was continuing to implement the resolutions emanating from the Second National Land Conference in collaboration with the High-Level Committee. The theft of exam papers towards the end of 2021 has not only seen exam dates being postponed and literally costing the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture millions of Namibian dollars as a result of having to prepare a new set of examination papers, renting additional venues, paying for additional invigilators, and many other financial burdens, but has left its personal mark on many young adults that had hoped to be at colleges or universities by now, instead of still waiting for their exam results. Those people that enrolled for the National Senior Secondary Certificate AS level will finally be handed their results as from Wednesday, the 3rd of February 2022, 1.5 months later than normal. The universities are in the meantime still reserving provisional places held for Namibian students both locally and in South Africa. Now, after almost 11 years, a crucial piece of evidence in the Heckmeyer trial is in danger of being disqualified. The last days of the trial in September 2021 was a so-called trial within a trial. Judge Christy Liebenberg has to determine whether a piece of crucial evidence that the police obtained during their third search of the then last known address of the two accused American citizens, African Sky Guesthouse, remains admissible in the main trial. The defense wants to have the police search declared as illegal because no search warrant had been issued. This means that all evidence collected was obtained illegally and is not permissible in court. A very important and maybe very crucial piece of evidence was discovered on the third search of the premises. Now, the Commerce Regional Council held its first meeting for 2022 on Friday last week. There, the council approved spending close to 4 million Namibian dollars on minor capital projects. These include 400,000 Namibian dollars for the upgrading of aquaponics project at the Dakbrecht School for the intellectually impaired. Another 500,000 Namibian dollars is set aside to provide the Ashipena Secondary School Science Lab equipment, and 150,000 Namibian dollars will be provided to extend the Wi-Fi internet connection and buy 5 computers for the Katutura Community Library. The Hakahana Clinic will be renovated to the tune of 1 million Namibian dollars. Now, the Minister of Health and Social Services, Dr. Kalumbi Shangula, last year announced that government has been engaging medical aid funds through the Namibian Association of Medical Aid Funds, NAMAF, to explore avenues for medical aid funds to contribute towards COVID-19 vaccination for their members and dependents through the public sector. Technical consultations were concluded, and the recommendation is that an amount of 713.68 Namibian dollars per dose will be contributed by medical aid funds for each member or beneficiary that has been vaccinated. However, months later, the process has stalled. Make sure you get your newspaper tomorrow and read all these stories, the stories behind the stories, and so much more. Stick around, Community Talk after the break. Namibia is a village. Let's find out what's happening in your community talk. The country has enjoyed lovely rains in the past few days, which means dams are filling up nicely. In this clip, we take a look at dam levels.
Per second, which was gradually increased to 400 cubic meters per second. All dams in Namibia are full to over 80%. Both the Nauta and the Hardap Dam continue to receive inflow, and as a result, the sluices of both these dams were opened earlier today. Pictured in this footage by our southern correspondent Monique Adams at the Hardap Dam, the sluices were opened to reduce the water level to around 70% of the dam's capacity. Levels are kept at a maximum of 73% due to the uncontrolled growth of reeds in the Fish River downstream. The Nauta Dam stood at over 107% this morning, with water being released at an initial rate of 200 cubes per second, which was gradually increased to 400 cubic meters per second. All dams in Namibia are full to over 80% capacity as at 31 January 2022. Last year at the same time, this volume was 88%. Last week, this value was 82.4%. For the central region, Vonbach, Swakopmund and Amotako dams are full to a combined 57.8% capacity. Last year at the same time, this value was 97%. Last week, the value was 58%.
Stunning visuals. Now in our next story, Happy Do recently inaugurated a new village in Swakopmund. This fully fledged village in Mondesa provides kindergarten, afternoon and extra classes along with sporting activities like volleyball, music and dancing lessons. Micheline Nawatisis was there.
I decided with some friend of mine to establish a no-profit organization because it was the more transparent way to talk about your country, to talk about those children, to talk about how is important the education all over in the world, of course, but here in Namibia.
The organization is for children, and as much as we'll be assisting the children with their afternoon homework, what they get from school, whether they're in primary school or in high school, but what we're also focusing on is on the children's well-being and actually emotional upbringing.
Better future for themselves.
Her Worship, the Mayor, this is our home. It's our home of volleyball. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Your father and your family.
No, you already started, huh? Hey!
There's nothing quite like seeing an adult embrace their inner child. Now, if you're a coffee lover like myself, you have a soft spot in your heart for Dion Vermeulen, who chats to Yolanda Nell about coffee and how he puts a Namibian spin on it.
I'm joined with Dion Vermeulen here from Fired Up Coffee Roastery. Dion, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I do appreciate the time as well.
Quickly tell us what is happening here at your business.
Okay, so it's quite a big business module that we have started a few years ago already, and the biggest idea behind, I think the whole concept is giving great coffee to Namibia as well. So we're doing the wood-fired coffees. We're not a lot of roasteries that does it. It's a very complicated process, but putting a bit of Namibia in the coffee as well. So what we're doing is we're using wood like camelthorn, swartak, mumpani, those type of woods to roast the coffee with, which gives it a nice, unique flavor to the coffee as well. Basically like you would, let's say, great whiskies or these type of things that's made in that way to give that oaky wood flavor towards it is exactly the same thing we're doing with the coffee. So we're putting a bit of Namibia in the coffee. So.
All the best in your endeavors, Dion. Now, the City Council of Rehoboth signed a letter of guarantee of more than 100 million Namibian dollars. We'll be getting into what that's about in our story of the day after this.
The MyNA Property Show provides viewers with the best-in-class property content, from looking for the perfect house to transforming it to the perfect home, with focus on interior designing, transforming your garden into a tranquil haven, to going green and having the funds and security of financing and insurance. The MyNA Property Show has it all. Tune in and make your house a home with our monthly MyNA Property Show on Wednesday evenings at 6:30 on all the NMH Facebook platforms and our website TV channel 1up2, 1up2.com.
Now you can trust Sunset News to bring you every important story happening in Namibia, but some stories, well, they stand out. Yolanda now reports from Rehoboth after it came to light that the City Council signed a letter of guarantee of more than 100 million Namibian dollars last year. Let's have a look.
That the land was not split between different developers. I am Yolanda Nell and I will be bringing you news from Rehoboth. Residents of the town is up in arms after it came to light that the Rehoboth Town Council signed a letter of guarantee last year. The letter states that Jacquemin Consulting Agency and developers applied for guarantee from the Town Council for an amount of $6.5 million, close to 101 million Namibian dollars. It further states that the Town Council gave insurance to any company that will assist Jacquemin Consulting, and should the developer fail to refund or pay back the full amount plus interest, the Council will take full responsibility. It was reported in the media in May of last year that the Council was planning on selling 71 hectares of land to Jacquemin Consulting Agency for an amount of 41.5 million Namibian dollars. The land was earmarked for low, middle and high income housing. The biggest question is how the council can afford this guarantee, with electricity debt alone standing at 113 million Namibian dollars a year ago. Residents were unhappy, saying that the area in question was earmarked for high income housing and that the low income housing is not suited. Others were disappointed that the land was not split between different developers. The funds will be used to develop 760 residential erven, 24 general residential erven, 6 business erven and 2 institutional erven. According to the Council, they have no comment. An urgent meeting was planned for Tuesday. We will keep you up to date as the story unfolds.
Now, shelter is a human right. Purchasing shelter is a different ballgame altogether. We'll be talking about household debt in Namibia in your economic news stories after this break. Thank you for staying with Sunset News. Let's dive straight into your economic news story. Household debt in Namibia increased by about 4.6 million Namibian dollars every day, Simone Storm says in its analysis of Bank Namibia's latest money and banking statistics. At the end of last year, household debt exceeded 60 billion Namibian dollars. Growth in credit extension averaged 2.4% in 2021, and SS expects it to drop to 1.7% this year. Next up, let's have a look at the economic indicators. All right, if you look at the economic indicators, the British pound is trading 26.4 with regards to the Namibian dollars. The Namibian dollars next to €1 is 17, just over $17. MTC is down 8.90 in stock closing prices, as well as ANIREP, which is staying the same at 9.00 points. Now, in selected NSX stock closing prices, Nictus Holdings NAM is at 1.75%, and Oryx Properties Limited is at 8.56%. Now, in weekly movement for commodities, gold is priced at 180721, up 0.6%. Brent crude oil is at $89.26 at 0.8%. That brings us to the end of our economic stories. Stick around, more after the break.
Go far with Paratus. Go further with Paratus Fiber. Paratus offering high-speed, reliable fiber connectivity, starting from only 599 Namibian dollars per month. Unlimit your lifestyle and visit na.paratus.africa for more information.
Always prepare. Paratus.
Thank you for staying with Sunset News. Let's have a look at the weather. All right, Namibia is still mostly under cloud cover with rain predicted widely. Ruacana stays the hottest place in Namibia with a maximum of 37 degrees, and the coolest place in the country is Rehoboth at 14 degrees. It looks like Cape Town in Windhoek today with the clouds hanging low over the Awas Mountains and with a lot of precipitation in the air. Windhoek had rain yesterday and during last night as well as during the day today. Looking at this low cloud cover, this will most probably continue into the night today. Stick around, we'll be looking at Burkina Faso in your international news.
Go far with Paratus. Go further with Paratus Fiber. Paratus offering high-speed, reliable fiber connectivity, starting from only 599 Namibian dollars per month. Unlimit your lifestyle and visit na.paratus.africa for more information.
Always prepare. Paratus.
Thank you for staying with Sunset News. Let's get into your international story. The African Union has suspended Burkina Faso from all its activities within the Continental Organization following the January 24 coup that ousted President Roch Marc Christian Kabore. The bloc's 15-member Peace and Security Council said in a Twitter post that the council decided to suspend the participation of Burkina Faso in all activities of the AU until the effective restoration of constitutional order in the country. Moussa Faki Mahamat, chairperson of the African Union Commission, had already condemned the coup. This is the second suspension in 1 week following the Burkina Faso coup. ECOWAS was the first to suspend Burkina Faso. A delegation of ECOWAS heads of diplomacy on Monday arrived in the capital of Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou, for talks with members of the junta, which has been in power for a week. All right, just now we'll be talking about possibly the oldest cycling challenge in Namibia, the Nedbank Cycling Challenge. Stick around for your sports. Thank you for staying with us. It's time for your sport. Now, the 2022 Nedbank Cycle Challenge was launched at the Nedbank campus in Windhoek. The challenge will take place on 13 February and is expected to draw close to 1,000 cyclists this year. Last year, the competition was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The competition, which was founded in 1986, is considered Namibia's oldest competitive cycling race. Speaking at the launch event, and whilst applauding Nedbank for the investment made in cycling in Namibia, Minister of Sport Agnes Shongarero said sport is not just a hobby, but rather a sector that feeds many people and that brings people closer together. She added that due to the prevailing pandemic, the past 2 years have been challenging in terms of hosting sporting activities. However, she is pleased to see sporting events slowly making a comeback. Now we're going to be talking about a bright star on the rugby field. Namibian rugby player Chad Plato, who plays fullback for Namibia, has joined rugby club Ferro in Spain. The 23-year-old Plato has represented Namibia in all lower divisions and was also included in the Namibian squad for the 2019 Rugby World Cup, which was held in Japan. This inclusion also served as his very first World Cup appearance. We've been coming to you live for the last hour. Please stick around for your highlights. Thank you for staying with Sunset News throughout the show. Now, if you perhaps got home from work a little later than usual, worry not. Here are the highlights. Windhoek Mayor Shade Khawanas today signed an agreement with her counterpart from the Bremen in Germany, Dr. Andreas Bovenscholt, in a virtual ceremony for the implementation of a European Union-funded project to improve solid waste management in Windhoek. The European Union, through the Directorate General for International Cooperation and Development, will be funding the 4-year project to the tune of 36.8 million Namibian dollars. Now, the Minister of Health and Social Services, Dr. Kalumbi Shangula, last year announced that the government has been engaging medical aid funds through the Namibian Association of Medical Aid Funds to explore avenues for medical aid funds to contribute towards COVID-19 vaccination for their members and their dependents through the public sector. Now, the African Union has suspended Burkina Faso from all its activities within the Continental Organization following the January 24 coup that ousted President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore. The bloc's 15-member Peace and Security Council said in a Twitter post that the council decided to suspend the participation of Burkina Faso in all activities of the AU until the effective restoration of constitutional order in the country. Thank you very much for joining Sunset News. Stick around. We'll be saying goodbye after the break. Sunset News has been broadcasting from 7:30, and we will do so every single weekday to make sure that you have that perfect companion after making things happen throughout the day. So make sure you join us tomorrow for more news and more community chats on Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.